Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now, today I am going to discuss the topic mitochondria. So, see, first of all, here is a figure which is given. So, it is a cell organelle and it is a very important cell organelle which is found inside the cell. So, let's discuss the topic about the mitochondria. We all know that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell and it is an important organelle which is found in a cell. Mitochondria's main function is to generate energy. But how it is generated, let's discuss. Mitochondria has the structure, you can see there is the outer membrane, this is the outer membrane, and inside the mitochondria there is the innermost membrane. Mitochondria consists of two membranes. Number one membrane is called outer membrane and number two membrane is called inner membrane. The outer membrane is basically a porous like structure and the inner membrane has the deeply folded structure. And inside the mitochondria you can see there is a structure. You can see this is the innermost membrane and this innermost membrane is basically a deeply folded membrane which creates a large surface area for the formation of one energy currency called ATP. So this deeply folded membrane creates a surface area for creating a ATP molecule. So what does the ATP stand for? ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate and it is the energy currency of the cell. But what is the function of the ATP? Let's discuss afterward. Just we know that the ATP is basically generated by the innermost membrane and this ATP is stored in a cell and by using this ATP cell perform different activities at a certain time. Now afterward you can observe there are different types of things also mentioned here. Number one is the innermost membrane, number two is the innermost space. This space is basically for creating and expanding the innermost membrane of the mitochondria. And afterward you can see the structure of DNA. DNA stands for the deoxyribonucleic acid, which is an inherited trait which pass from one organelles or one generation to the different generation after the division of cells. So basically mitochondria creates an ATP and that ATP is called the energy currency or adenosine triphosphate, which is used by the cell for performing the different activities just like for formation of the compounds, for the chemical reactions, as well as for performing all the activities which is needed by the human body or any organelle. Like a unicellular or multicellular organelles need the different functions which is performed by the cell by using the ATP, because ATP is the important energy currency which is used for the constantly functions of the cell. Next is the topic is cristae, and you can see cristae is the thread-like structure which is found inside the surface of innermost membrane. Afterward you can see there is a ribosome also found on the surface of the innermost membrane. As we earlier discussed that ribosome is the protein synthesis structure and it is a small structure or a circular structure which is found at the place where the protein synthesis. So as we know that mitochondria has its own DNA and its own ribosome, and that's why it do not need any other organelle. Okay, and DNA is the important structure which is found in the mitochondria and after a ribosome, because ribosome helps in the synthesis of protein, and that's why we need a mitochondria. I'm going to conclude about the topic that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell and it has two membranes, the outer membrane and the inner membrane. I told you right now that the outer membrane is the porous like structure and the inner membrane is a deeply folded area or a deeply folded surface. That surface increase its area for the making of ATP or energy currency adenosine triphosphate, and that ATP was used by the cell for performing different activities just like formation of compounds, for the performing chemical reactions and for different functions as well. Now the function of innermost space, that this space is basically for expanding of the innermost membrane of the mitochondria, and ribosome basically found on the upper surface of the innermost membrane, which helps in the synthesis of protein, and granules and crystals, these are also some important organelles which is found inside the mitochondria. And now the last point, which is DNA, stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, which is very important for the mitochondria because DNA is a inherited character or a trait which is passed from one generation to another generation. And let's wind up this chapter. Thanks a lot.